I'm just fucking African shit. Machiavelli. Yo, I like it, but I like it. But see, this is where Umar be getting me twisted. He be getting me like combobulated. He be getting me all twisted up though. Cause it's like he fucked black Americans over with this school shit. But like he know how to touch on certain issues that will make you agree with him no matter what. Like, I'm riding with you on this shit. Listen to this. Listen to Umar. And look, I salute my Philly brothers, man. The realest dude. I'm telling you, Philly got the realest, the last realest group of black dudes. Philly got the last group of realest black dudes, Machiavelli shit, man. East Coast tri-state area, Machiavelli. I salute y'all. Know what I mean? But like what Umar Johnson did with this school shit, it broke the trust. It breaks the trust between black men. Like we can't put our money together and behind certain shit. Cause he said he gonna build a school for our little boys, and then when he don't follow through with that kind of shit, it's like, man, I don't want to fuck with you, bro. But like deep down, I know this Umar Johnson is a real dude, but I'm just fucking confused with this motherfucker. Cause he's on his African shit, West African shit, and I'm saluting him on that West African shit. But you gotta deliver, bro. You just can't be on this, talking shit. But look, right now, he's talking some real good shit. I'm gonna be real with you. I appreciate it, but you gotta deliver on this school. I don't know if you blew the money or whatever. Well, man, look, if you did, you gotta pay a consequence for that, and you gotta answer to your black brothers. That don't mean I want you to see you get hurt because you're a real black man. Nobody should hurt you, but I'm just saying you gotta come to your black brothers and be like, listen, I fucked up. But check this out.
Punishment was death. Instead, in most African countries, that's why they sent Barack Obama over to Liberia, and they sent Barack Obama over to Tanzania, and Barack Obama threatened the presidents of sovereign African nations that if you don't legalize homosexuality, stop your money. Why does the president of the United States care about whether or not gay people can get married in Africa? For two reasons. Number one is population control. Reason number for support of gay marriage in America, Planned Parenthood. Is that a coincidence? The same organization that birthed the birth control and the abortion clinics is the number one supporter of gay marriage. Why?
All right. He's talking about shit, Machiavelli. He talking about shit. But I'm like, hey, bro, you wasn't spitting this shit 3 years ago. Why all of a sudden are you making a move on these black feminists? Why all of a sudden you making a move on the LGBT and the abortion issue, bro? I mean, black Americans had 20 million abortions since 1970. You could have been sparking this up a while back. Now look, I think Umar Johnson is under heavy pressure. It's right. It's little black boys to school. And then you're gonna break the bond. But I think he's under pressure right now by a lot of different groups. And these LGBT queer motherfuckers, these black feminists are on his head. So he ain't holding no punches no more. He's saying fuck it. Letting his beard grow. I salute you, bro. You a Philly dude. Philly, I'm telling you, Philly got the last realest black dudes right now, man. I salute you, but at the end of the day, you let your black brothers down as far as the trust, man, because like give money, we can't give money behind some productive hardcore shit, or behind anything we gonna do because it's like, what you gonna do with it? It's the trust, and it's like with Tariq, fuck Tariq Nasheed, all these. Oh, I'm just saying, bro. You gotta follow through with your shit. You just can't be bullshit. Now these black feminists, they're gonna be attacking. Look, they're coming hard. After watching this video, you're gonna see. But listen, if you're a real soldier, fuck it, ride with it. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. But hey, stand your ground and be a real dude, bro. Find that fucking school for your son. Find that fucking school for little black boys, motherfucker.
Because two gay women can't reproduce. Two gay men can't reproduce. And why do they want it in the public school? What the problem? If I can get get to him at 10. If I could get to him at 15, I can homosexualize everybody through conditioning, because as we taught in psychology, as a man is taught, so is his thought.
Alright, bam. Look, he's 100% right with the Barack Obama. Everything he just said, he's right. And this is why I said I'm like conflicted or combobulated. Whatever, combobulated. I'm just saying, like, he know how to touch on certain issues. And look, a broken clock is right twice a day. But like he can touch on certain issues and how you like you a real dude. And I feel Umar. But like, what's up with that 700,000, bro? I did a video recently with DJ Envy. He got a school somewhere in New York or somewhere for like $90,000. $90,000. DJ Envy, I don't even follow this guy. Because if it ain't Tupac Shakur, Machiavelli, Outlaw Mortal, Don Machiavelli, I don't fuck with him. I fuck with Jada Kiss, I fuck with Sheik Luke, I fuck with DMX, you know. But if you disrespect the Pac, I don't fucking with you. I know at the end of the day, Tupac will want us to squash all this bullshit beef and move on as black men, and I salute that shit. But yeah, and DMX shitted on Tupac. But DMX, man, had a lot of potential. He had a lot of potential after Pac died. DMX could have carried the torch after Pac, but he started smoking that crack. And once you fuck with that crack, it fucks you up. All right, I'm off target. I'm off target. Hey, man, back with this Umar shit. Machiavelli. Don Machiavelli.
To me, there's no statute of limitations on child molestation and pedophilia. Even the last, I can't believe it last week, 50 years ago, you should be held accountable. I'll say that out front. However, going back to the three new faces of racism, feminism, LGBTQism, and multiculturalism. Okay, arts and entertainment, whatever channel you listen to, right now, all black people, black women, black men, black people. This was done for three reasons. Because first of all, it was so crazy, Kevin, so I wasn't the back then. You look at my video, why didn't y'all expose R. Kelly back then? You know why y'all didn't expose him? Because y'all thought y'all was gonna get something out of him. The sickness of the R. Kelly show is the fact that everyone on the show was an accomplice to the crime.
So he's basically saying the women that are complaining today, the 40-year-old black women complaining today, they were complicit back in the 90s when R. Kelly was messing around with Aaliyah. When these same black women that are 40 years old today, they were in their 20s back in the fucking 90s or whatever, I guess. And they knew what R. Kelly was up to, but these black women were fucking around, bringing these little girls to R. Kelly or turning a blind eye. And this is a culture with these black feminists and these black lesbians. It's all sacrificing their children, okay? Whether it's through abortion clinics, I'm telling you, or whether it's just giving their daughters up at a young age. Hopefully, she gets pregnant by a baller or an athlete, and they can get millions of dollars and shit over an 18-year time period. These black chicks throughout the 90s were just as scandalous and evil as R. Kelly, okay? But now they're 40 years old, they're washed up, and nothing came out of it, and now they want to fucking, do what the typical vindictive black broad does. Turn around and change and attack what she supported, R. Kelly. And you still do support R. Kelly. R. Kelly can fucking sell out any fucking... He can sell out the Staples Center next week. Okay? These hoes... These are just hoes, man.
But my question to them would be, why did they lock him up? We could have shown love kids all of a sudden, but you didn't at that time. Or you accept them being an accomplice and being sentenced to prison time yourself. Every parent, every owner loves the new R. Kelly. And my issue with the black feminists is they want to separate R. Kelly away from the system in which he existed. This was not a one man operation. This was a system of being put allowed them to be preyed on and did nothing as long as expected out of the situation. That's not justice.
He's talking about the women during that time period, the black women in particular, during the time period R. Kelly was involved in the behavior, who turned a blind eye and accepted it. But now all of a sudden they're 40 years old and they realize there's no benefit out of it. They want to become all righteous and loving kids. You bitches don't love kids. You bitches will abort and kill any baby at any goddamn time. Especially the baby's black. So you black chicks, don't be trying to pull this holier than now. You aborted 20 million black babies since 1970. You managed to keep black Americans as a permanent minority. Hispanics have surpassed black Americans. They're going to do it they did it in LA a long time ago. They're going to do it in Chicago, New York, Baltimore, because black women love killing babies, and then they want to pretend to be all loving of babies later on when, they dry up and become 40. Fuck out of here.
It's funny that you mentioned now because you was talking, you became a big pop star and then you began to follow kids. But then your listen, and your response is allegedly everybody got a right to tell their story. And until I see both sides and see the evidence and see everything else, I can't say who's guilty, who's not. But the way this is being done, this is nothing more than a test of violent conduct to see who we can get. The black community on our side, either way the black community goes, we don't bend. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Listen, the black community says R. Kelly needs to go to jail. He's a pedophile, and we do not accept pedophilia. The white power structure says no. Black people are willing to let us destroy their own. So then, any black man we want to take down in America who is not guilty of R. Kelly's crimes, who just paint them as pedophiles because it's been so sensationalized in the media, and we can take out 24 prominent black men who are not guilty because we got the black community who line themselves up with the same criminal injustices as been destroying
The black feminists are the ones doing this, Umar. But now all of a sudden you want to talk out against it. You got to address the black feminists. And also that 700,000 you got, man, for that school, bro. I'm serious. You could fucking ever since I saw DJ Envy with that $90,000 school in New York or wherever it was on the East Coast. But with 700,000, not only could you have bought the same school DJ Envy bought, but you could have fucking fixed that fucking school up without asking for any other donations and started out small and then expanded. So I don't know if this video you're making is an attempt for you to distract folks. But I know you hear about all this pressure. Folks are talking about this school shit, bro. I mean, everything you're talking about here is right, it's truthful. I'm standing with you. I'm saluting you. You 100% right about all this LGBT, all this the agenda. I want to watch the rest of it, but I don't want this video to be too long. But at the end of the day, unless you're going to talk about the school at the same time, you talking about this shit, it just looks like a distraction, bro. And like I said, I have faith in this school shit, bro. Especially when you was going to that, when you were going to court in Pittsburgh about your credentials or whatever way back last year. I was rocking with you, whatever year that was, because you was saying that, hey, you was gonna, come back from Japan and find a fucking school and all that shit. But now it's like, nah, bro, this time is just wasting. It's like, motherfuckers waiting for that shit. Cause they got little soldiers out here, little boys they want to put in your school, bro. They got little guys they want to put in your school. So make that move. I don't think you could have spent 700,000. I mean, I really don't think you could have done that, Umar. I mean, that money got to be somewhere. And if it's somewhere, get your hands on it and just find it. Maybe you can buy that spot off of DJ Envy. I swear to God, I swear by God, if you go find DJ Envy, cash him out, give him 90,000. Well, the school he got cost 90,000. You give DJ Envy a good 100,000. Be like, hey, bro, this is for our little sons. It's gonna be for our little soldiers. You know what I mean? Give me the school. I'm gonna knock it out, fix it up. It's gonna be popping, whatever. I salute you, Umar. If you do that, you just take 100,000 out of that 700,000, and you give DJ Envy that 100,000 and be like, let me get the school you just got. Because I just made a video. I think it was in New York. He bought this school for $90,000. Give him 100,000 for it. Take the rest of the 700,000, well 600,000, and then just fix the fucking school up because it's fucked up. But you can, it's less than 600,000 to fix that fucking school. So, yeah, man, I may go right now, but hold on, let's see what else you got to say.
Hundreds of years. Now, let's say we go the other route and say let's protect R. Kelly, okay? Because he's a hero, he's a black man, and it don't affect you, and he says great, we still got it, because since they want to protect the pedophile, with the American Psychiatric Association normalizes pedophilia in the next 10 years, the black community can't say nothing because you said you want R. Kelly to be exempt. So if R. Kelly can be exempt as an alleged pedophile, so can all of them. Because there's a movement in the scripture. A rich white males who abuse children, so the black community then they automatically are supporting the movement for the normalization of pedophilia. So,
And that will be the catch-22. That will be the catch-22. I believe black Americans should stand against R. Kelly if he is in fact guilty. And I think he is guilty of doing that nasty shit. Okay. It's wrong. But he was already tried, he was already put on trial. And they acquitted him. They let him go. R. Kelly was found with child pornography in his fucking Florida house back in 2003 or some shit. He had child porn video. They found this shit in his house. This is all separate from Aaliyah. He was put on trial for that. It got dismissed. A bunch of chicks let him go. These chicks, these broads, they throw their panties on stage for him. They let him go in 2003. And then in 2008, they tried him for some Aaliyah shit, right? They let him go. They let him go again. He was let loose. A bunch of chicks on the jury. A bunch of chicks. They put him on trial. R. Kelly was on trial. It went through the process. Everything. All the charges. And let him go. Now they're looking for new cases. And look, there's a bunch of hoes that are just going to make up some lies, of course. And they're going to say, hey, a statute of limitation. Right here, guys. Right here, we got a statute of limitation. We can do it, guys. So look, R. Kelly's going to end up in jail. And I don't care. Fuck R. Kelly. He likes young girls. That's wrong. He has a problem. But he should have been in jail 20 years ago. Okay? You understand?
The question becomes, if we lose either way we go, how do we win? By bringing justice to your whole community, not going to white folks and asking the same people who committed more injustice against you than anybody in history to administer justice. You don't go to...
See, he knows how to touch on certain nerves. I got the hiccups, but he knows how to touch on certain nerves. But at the end of the day, you got to realize that people who think they're smarter than you, they try to manipulate you with different word patterns and distract you. Instead of talking about the true issue. I gotta go, man. I'm done.
Your physical diverted and your vision deserted. Ever since mama got fucked and papa dumped out. Look at us, murderous thugs, showing less love in the drug house. Similar to savage, it's a wonder we managed. Bring chaos, causing damage. In the quest for cabbage, they ask my style similar to cash when flown it. Most wanted by the population.
everybody, and welcome back to Acres of This is the long-awaited interview, intimate talk, conversation, call it what you want, that we wanted to have with our brother, Dr. Umar Johnson. He is officially live in the studio. Talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. All the guests in the studio are more than welcome to ask our brother questions. We had a brief little talk during the break, and Dr. Umar said that he's open to talk about things that are on the mind of Black America. Call us up early in the show if you like. Telephone number is 215-490-9832. 215-490-9832. If you are joining us via the different outlets where you can hit us, I encourage you to go to the TuneIn app. Go to the TuneIn app and click Time for an Awakening. Click that. You can hear us. You cannot see us. Tonight, we're so deep. I said, let's do this, Troy. Let's just put the spotlight on our guests. We only work with one single camera to be on our guest tonight. And he is here in the studio with us. We are so very happy and excited to have our brother with us. All the way from
Philadelphia, North Philly.
Where you from now, man? I know you traveled all over the world. I used to say the country. People say, you know Dr. Umar? I've known Dr. Umar for a mighty long time. So he just got back from Japan, London, Dubai, you name it, he's been there. What he's been doing, he's been preaching, he's been speaking Black love, Black empowerment to our people. And we are so very happy to have him here with us. And I want to ask the first question, if I may, because people have been texting me, they've been inboxing me, they sent me an email. You gotta ask him about the school. What's the update with the school? When is the school opening up?
Good question. Number one, on Frederick Douglass's birthday, my kinsman, that's February 14th, I'll be doing an official Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy School announcement. So I'm not going to go too deep in it, except to say that they should probably be tuned into my Facebook and my Instagram on February the 14th. I don't know what time I'm going to broadcast it yet, but it'll just be a special 1-hour announcement to let folks know where the school is going to be, how they can participate, how they can support. But also along with that, the school will be the headquarters for an organization I started back in 2005, the International Movement for the Independence and Protection of African People, which is a Pan-Africanist movement. So I will be giving a rebirth to the Team Pan-African movement, and the FDMG building will be our headquarters. So for brothers and sisters who may not have school-aged children, who may not necessarily be looking to teach, they can still come and help us organize on a grassroots level. One of our biggest issues as a people, we're not organized. We're not organized at all. Black men are not organized. That's why we keep on being persecuted the way that we are. Black women are not organized. That's the way they keep on being victims of misogyny and other things the way that they are. Black parents are not organized. That's why our children are constantly suspended, detended, special educated, psychiatrically medicated, juvenile incarcerated, and prematurely exterminated. Black teachers are not organized. It is amazing, as an educator, as a principal, as a school psychologist, that we don't have a national Black teachers union. I don't know of a population that probably suffers more racism and discrimination than Black teachers. But most Black teachers are still members of the historically racist white teachers unions. Here in Philadelphia, we have the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, a white racist teacher union. So they take your dues money, they claim to represent you, but at the end of the day, they don't fight for Black teachers the way they fight for white teachers. And it's just amazing that we don't have a national Black teachers union. So under the umbrella of Team Pan-African, we're going to be doing a lot of things to actually help our community and focus on issues that we've ignored for a long time. With that being said, I got to say this because it's on my mind. Today is the day chosen by the United States government to honor the legacy of Dr. King. I am very disappointed that we have allowed the white power structure of this country and the Black bourgeoisie. And Philadelphia probably has the most powerful Black bourgeoisie in America. In fact, if you're not aware, the Boule
was started in Philadelphia by W.E.B. Du Bois and others while he was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. So when you deal with the Coon Illuminati, the untalented tenth, the black bourgeoisie, the gatekeepers, Philadelphia probably has one of the strongest groups of black gatekeepers in the country. The black bourgeoisie is very much in control here. Now, with that being said, I don't like how Dr. King's birthday has been remixed into a day of colorblind solidarity. How it's been remixed into a day where you go out and clean up your community, which I'm not against, but there's unions who receive $million-dollar contracts to clean up the streets that tax dollars are paying for. So why is his birthday being used as an opportunity to get free labor out of black youth? Okay, the same black youth that can't even find a job in the city, by the way. Okay, Dr. King was not martyred for being colorblind. He was not martyred for cleaning up communities. He wasn't not martyred for integration. Dr. King was murdered for one thing and one thing only: economic justice and redistribution of the wealth. That's why Dr. King was murdered. Not for holding hands for white folk, but trying to get black people their piece of the economic pie. Let's remember him and honor him the right way.
I heard that what you said. Now, I always really contribute why Dr. King was killed, slain, murdered, because he spoke out against America's participation in the Vietnam War.
That was part of what caused him to fall into ill repute with the power structure. But that's not what got the trigger pull. That's not what got the trigger pull. There were a lot of very powerful personalities, leaders, organizers, athletes, and entertainers who protested the war in Vietnam. They didn't like him for that, but that's not what got Dr. King murdered. What got Dr. King murdered was the breadbasket campaign, when he decided that in the fall of 1968, he was going to take millions of unemployed and homeless, black, white people, every color, every culture. They were going to march on the wall, the mall in D.C., and they were going to erect a tent city of poverty in front of the White House. And they were not going to leave until everyone left with a home and a job. This wasn't one day. This was forever until we all leave with an opportunity. That would have embarrassed the United States government that makes a living of advocating for capitalist opportunities for rich corporations around the country where poverty is rampant. So for Dr. King to show up on the mall in D.C. saying, wait a minute, you're talking about other countries and how they treat their poor. Look at how you treat your own. That would have been an international public relations disaster for America. And that's why he had to die.
That's deep.
Well, I mean, I got a whole studio full of people now.
Yo.
I'm trying to share.
You're trying to share.
I'm trying to share.
All right, so everybody jump in. I want to jump in.
Go ahead, Joe.
All right, so when we come together and we're, I guess, probably say we're fooled into doing things the way the majority, such as celebrating Dr. Martin King Day. So let's move ahead to the future when the school is open. How are we going to celebrate, or would we celebrate? Or would it be a continuous celebration? How would you acknowledge Dr. King?
One of the things for me, and I study traditional African spirituality, one of the things for me that we do celebrate ancestors individually, but we also celebrate them collectively. Our ancestors are a potent force that Almighty God created to be at our disposal. And so it's not just a matter of celebrating Dr. King, it's about celebrating all of them who contributed to where we are. However, we will celebrate Dr. King. Dr. King is the last. Let me say it again. Dr. King is the last. Let me say it one more time. Dr. King is the last national black leader you have had in America to give us a serious, organized, protracted, measurement-based movement for change in America. No one since King has given you that. Jesse hasn't given you that. Al hasn't given you that. Tremendous respect for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He has not given you that. The Urban League has not given you that. The NAACP has not given you that. Rainbow Push, the National Action Network. King was the last one to say we're going to fight for economic justice. We're going to fight for political justice. And he gave his life. No one else has given us, well, Malcolm died before King. I said since King.
Okay.
You got me? Since King. So here you are, as of April 4th of 2018, last year, 50 years since his assassination. And you ain't had a leader come even close to doing. I'm not talking about speeching. I'm not talking about preaching. I'm not talking about marching. I'm talking about a observable movement of change where evidence can be proven. King did that. The Civil Rights Bill didn't save us, but at least he fought for it. The Voting Rights Act didn't save us, but at least he fought for it. At least he gave you a tangible. And one of the weaknesses of the black conscious community today, if I may say so, as one of his spokespersons, is that we are very high on the philosophy, very high on the ideology, very high on the history, but there's no practical action. The biggest difference between black consciousness today and in the 60s is in the 60s, it was action-based. H. Rap Brown was action-based. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, action-based. The sit-ins, the Freedom Riders, SNCC, Core, Stokely, you name it. They may have disagreed with each other, but they were action. It was about what are we doing. We flipped it now. Now you don't have to do anything. It's all about what are we going to discuss. And don't get me wrong, the discussion is necessary, the meeting is necessary, but where is the action? I say it all the time and I'm going to say it again. Information will never save you. Only organization will. The Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, leader of the largest black organization of all time and the only mass black leader to never take a dollar from another race, he said the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. He said the white man ain't doing what he's doing to you because he's stronger than you or because he's better than you. He out-organizes you. The Chinese in Philadelphia out-organize us. The Italians out-organize us. Why is it in South Philadelphia, in the Italian neighborhood, they can roll up to their street, and if they don't have a parking spot, they can park right there on the street, no ticket. Right. If you do it in the black neighborhood, you're going to get ticketed. What's the difference? They are organized, and so the police know they can't get away with that.
Wow, you just touched on quite a bit, and that last part about nobody steps up to do anything.
But talk. But talk.
Right. Just talk. That's all we keep hearing talk. I think I've been talking to quite a few people about that. Why are we on the show? And I mean everywhere. Why do we just talk? Why wasn't Martin Luther King was the last person that actually made things happen? Why are we still talking? Why are we still having these symposiums and these caucuses and all that chat and gatherings? And we're going to sit and talk.
You still need the discussion. So we don't want to throw out the discussion. The problem with the discussions is 90% of them are financed by the people you got to fight. Right. You go to a conference on mass incarceration, and then you find out a week later that the private prisons paid for the conference. You go to a conference on how to deal with disruptive behavior in black boys, and the next day you find out that the psychiatric drug companies paid for the conference. So it's not that we don't need meaningful conversation. The conversations that are being had are not controlled and financed by us. We don't control the narrative. That's how Dr. King's birthday gets remixed into cleaning up the streets. It gets remixed into holding hands with white folks. You never get a conversation on economic justice because we're not the ones controlling the narrative at these conferences, and a lot of that has to do with the fact, and this is also a big change since the days of King, most of our community-based organizations are funded by the white power structure. It's a significant contradiction. The reason why you can't get nowhere is the people that's fighting for you are paid by the people they're supposed to be fighting. That doesn't even make any sense.
That reminds me of when we were in college, we met in college at Temple. We met in radio. WRTI, of course, was owned by Temple, but it was all jazz, really heavy jazz. And at some point, classical station wanted to take over, and so now it's half jazz, half classical. And the reason wasn't because they wanted classical, it was because we were trying to play Dr. Mumia, we were trying to play his tape.
Wow.
So we had the actual tape that he made in prison, and we're like, what do we do? We're going to play it. We're going gonna play it. So we barricaded ourselves in the studio and put it on. We, they were saying they're gonna take us out. It wasn't gonna let us graduate. That didn't happen. We had immunity because we were students. But my point is, at the time, we had to ask Temple to allow us to protest, them telling us that we couldn't play the tape, that we couldn't have all jazz all the time. And, oh man, we had a brother, I can't remember his name, maybe Detroit, who told us, you don't ask your oppressor for permission to protest him. And it's just the mindset that we're in as a people. Like, we think that we have to ask to be free. We think that we have to get permission to be who we are.
But the reason you're asking for permission is you don't want to suffer the sacrifices that will come from not asking.
Right.
So it's not that we got to ask them. It's that, listen, I got a $103,000 Mercedes I'm driving. You understand? I got a $250,000 house out in the suburbs I don't want to lose. And that segues into why we haven't had those leaders or followers, because you got to have both. Dr. King came at the right time. He was a leader who came at the time people were ready to follow. Marcus Garvey, same thing. Oh, yes.
It wasn't, now.
They diversified the levels of oppression. You just hit on it, Queen. What do I mean by that? During Dr. King, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, right? We would have all been in the same neighborhood. He may have been a lawyer. I might have been homeless. He could have been an alcoholic. He could have been an engineer. But guess what? You had to coexist with each other because Jim Crow kept you out of anything white folks was doing. So there was no diversification of the oppression. Whether you had a PhD or a GED, we were the same. After Dr. King, they would change that. One of the first things they did, they decided that they would reorganize black leadership so that they would control it. They decided that we would deliberately fund the black organizations to control them. Former President George W. Bush in the year 2000 took this to another level when he found a loophole in federal law that allowed him to not only fund black organizations, but fund the black church. If you want to know why the black church has been missing in action, and I'm going to say masjid too, you got bougie Muslims like you got bougie Christians. It ain't none of them doing nothing systematically to help black folks in Philly. I don't care who don't like it, but it's the truth. They all sit at that table. So when I say black church, I'm talking about all of them. Okay? Now, when he found a way to start funding them, you notice how you don't see churches at the forefront of police genocide? Why you don't see churches at the forefront of mass incarceration? You don't see churches at the forefront of unemployment, churches at the forefront of miseducation. Where is the black church? We are 19 years into the 21st century. The black church isn't playing a major role in anything that affects blacks because they're being paid to sit by the sideline. The revolution will not be financed by your oppressor.
On that note, let's do this. Let's take a commercial break. We're going to take a break. You are listening and watching Acres of Diamonds. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. I would keep it going with that same momentum.
Is this mic now?
I think we just passed. Let's pass. No, I don't think it's on.
Pass the mic.
Yep, pass.
Check it. Tap
Can we
into
just
it.
check it real quick?
You hear that, Troy?
Not yet. No, it's not up. You got to pop it up.
Insurance Masters Total Risk Management is a full-service insurance agency dedicated exclusively to providing insurance solutions for our valued clients in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. As your locally owned and operated insurance agency, established in 1993, you can take comfort in knowing our experienced staff of professionals is only a phone call away through times of need. Save more on auto and home insurance when you partner with the Insurance Masters. Located in West Philadelphia at 5930 Haverford Avenue.
215-476-1000.
His mic still didn't go up?
FBI might have got you. FCC, baby. They run the whole thing.
I don't know if I'm hearing you.
Testing. Can't hear it?
Alright, y'all just got to share the money.
Yeah, just shit.
Palmer, just grab them. I need everybody to get involved in this.
Yeah,
Now, we've been waiting a long, long time to get in here.
Can we touch on
Whatever.
I got you. You go in there. This, what are we doing about the kids here?
Hit on that. That's part of that whole miseducation thing.
My question, before y'all hit on that, because I know that's going to be long,
No, go ahead.
is to talk about Kamala Harris's announcement that she's running for president.
Oh, excellent.
All right, why don't you start with that
Excellent.
first? When we come back, Jay will bring you in. Jay,
Excellent.
and you can go ahead and run with that, and then I'll come somewhere along the line
Excellent.
to talk about other things. Whenever Jay is ready, just give me 1 minute.
Yeah, buddy. 2-3 jobs. It's normally not like this. It's
It don't matter what it normally like.
Got a phone call coming in. Maybe if their number pop up, we can tell who it is. Whenever you're ready, Troy. Good evening, and welcome back to Acres of Diamonds here on Facebook Live. Also, let's say here on Acres.
I know. It's all good.
If you're joining us now on the TimeForAwakening.com platform, if you're joining us on the BlackTalkRadioNetwork.com, OurRadioNetwork.com, Time for an Awakening, we thank you. Telephone numbers is 215-490-9832. Once again, 215-490-9832. We got our brother in the studio with us, and we having a real conversation. And when we put the flyer out a number of weeks ago, we said that we wanted to talk about the state of Black America, where we are as Black folks. And with everything going on with SNAP about to be taken away from people, and the whole welfare thing, and the shutdown with 45 got the government on lock. And I didn't even realize this today until I saw someone, and they said, yo, you know, even the Secret Service, even the dudes that ride around with him are not getting paid. Now, what's your thoughts on this? Because I know everybody's got questions for you. What's your thoughts on this very quickly on the Orange Man and everything that he's doing? And it's like he's got the attitude now like, I'm taking my ball and I'm rolling out.
Well, number one, I think that Donald Trump is using strategy. The Congress is predominantly Democrat now. So although this lockout hurts the Republicans because he's the CEO, in many respects, it's going to also hurt the Democrats significantly because they run the House. You see, so this is just a strategy to hurt their credibility amongst working class people. But larger than that, I consider this a distraction. Nothing that matters is normally on the news. This is a distraction from other things that America is working on, the one white supremacy world order and other things like that. This is just a temporary distraction. They'll get it together. They can't let it get so bad because it'll hurt people at election time. With that being said, though, it is within the design of the New World Order to bring about a social catastrophe in America and globally, because America is one of the only places that hasn't had a social catastrophe. Okay, and they need to bring that about in order to justify the international police coming in, and that is a forerunner to the One World Order, which is basically bringing the entire planet under one government, one military, one banking system, one incarceration system. So America is one of the last pieces that needs to fit into that puzzle. The United Kingdom is also one of those last pieces that need to fit into that puzzle as well. So it is relevant, but at the same time, it's a distraction as well. But I think he's largely doing it to hurt the reputation of the Democratic Party.
So you think that martial law is on the way? President
Barack Obama signed more martial law executive orders than any president in American history. There was no need to do that just to do it. It's coming.
There's a reason.
It's coming.
Brother, I gotta.
Stop giving your guns back. Go buy some more.
Say that one more
Stop
time.
giving your guns back. You better go buy some more, because God forbid, when this situation comes, and I hope it doesn't come in our lifetime, but it likely will, you can not only arm yourself, you're going to have to arm your whole block.
You're going to have to arm your own block, because what's going to happen is the para-racist groups that live up in the mountains, the hillbillies of Pennsylvania, hillbillies of Virginia, hillbillies of New Jersey, they're going to be deputized by the government to come on in and kill black folks. They did it in Hurricane Katrina. You had police and you had paramilitary groups, civilians who have been deputized to take life. They were literally going through New Orleans assassinating black folks.
But I got a question to ask you. First of all, it's like an honor for me to be sitting in the same studio with you.
Oh, the honor's mine, black man. Honor's mine.
I'm a follower of your work, and I greatly admire what you do. It's a blessing, brother, and I say continue to do what you
Thank
do.
you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Today, I wanted to ask you, what was your thoughts on Kamala Harris, the United States Senator, coming out and announcing her presidency for the United States? When she announced it, the first thing I thought about was, because I'm a great follower of Dr. Amos Wilson also.
Yes, sir.
And he spoke on compensatory fantasies that black people suffer from.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And I was fooled once, you know what I mean, about voting for Barack Obama as president. And to me, looking at his presidency, Barack Obama, contextually, voting for Kamala Harris would be like doing the same thing.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
It'll be
So
worse.
if you can touch on that, bro, and what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. Excellent question. Whenever you studying the white power structure, you want to look at the timing, the technique, and the tactic. The timing around Dr. King's Earth Day, so that you can cloak this announcement in the disguise of being some sort of a civil rights continuation of where Dr. King left off. But make no mistake, we already anticipated the rise of the biracial politician, okay? See, the biracial African, and I do consider them African unless they don't agree with us. If you don't identify with your race, I don't want nothing to do with you. You understand? But other than that, for those who are biracial, they have no control over how they come into this world. And they're going to be treated as black, whether they like it or not. So as long as they're willing to identify with the rest of us, I see them no different as you and I. Okay? However, historically, that population within our group has always been used against us systematically. I'm not saying that all biracials are sellouts, because I got friends who are. I got heroes who are. Some of the greatest Pan-Africanists of all time were mixed race. That's not the point. The point is, systematically, the power structure depends on biracial Africans because they already have a natural, God-given split loyalty at birth. Now, when I look at Kamala Harris, I see a biracial woman with a white husband. Show me who you love, and I show you who you are. So right there, that automatically tells me she has nothing, no interest whatsoever in helping black folks. I can almost guarantee you she's hostile to black males, because she damn sure didn't marry one. You understand? And going even further, see, her agenda is going to be to further the feminist movement, okay, the anti-black male movement, okay, but with her being a so-called minority, it'll look like she's serving all the constituencies within the community, but she's only looking at the feminist constituency, you see. And so I would not support her presidency at all, because there's nothing but white supremacy and blackface. One of the things that racism did in the 21st century, Y2K, it reinvented itself. And it reinvented itself with three new faces. One face was the LGBTQ movement, another face was the feminist movement, another face was the multicultural movement. Okay, those would be the three: LGBT, multiculturalism, and feminism.
Right.
Those are the three new faces of racism. So you look at Kevin Hart. They snatched him from the Oscars, right? They found an old tweet from 10 years ago and used that to snatch him from the Oscars. But as Nick Cannon pointed out, there was other whites who made comments similar to Kevin Hart. They were not ostracized or labeled at all, because it had nothing to do with homosexuality. Right. It was a weapon against the black male. You see what they did with Bill Cosby. 40 ugly old white women all wake up at the same time and say, he must have harassed me 20, 30, 40 years ago. First of all, you're not going to wait to destroy the most successful, popular black man in entertainment at that time.
Right.
He was on top of the world.
Yes.
You wait till he's no longer on top of the world to come out with it? Y'all were set up to do that. Okay? The crime was destroying a successful black man. But the tactic was to make it look like he was the perpetrator, not the victim. So this is what they're going to be doing going on now. Now they're snatching all these black men out of prominence with what? Me Too. Yeah, right, you see? Right. Or you either offended women, you offended gays, you offended the multicultural thrust of American society, which is nothing but an illusion. You see? So that's going to be the new thing. Making the victim look like he caused the crime. That's the new racism. So Kamala Harris is going to be worse than Barack Obama. Worse! Because she's a female. You see? So whereas Barack Obama was a male, He clearly hoodwinked, bamboozled, and ignored black people's agenda. He took care of everybody but us. Can't nobody name one law Barack Obama put in place that primarily benefited blacks. But I can name you 3 that exclusively benefited gays. I can name you 2 that exclusively benefited immigrants. I can name you 1 that specifically targeted women.
Why is that?
Because
I mean, I heard you speak on these 3 components before, and that they're kind of to pull away from the black man.
Yes.
Now, where I agree with you, not that it matters, but where I agree with you is the fact that the black, I see it, I know it. I grew up with mostly black men, and I see how our society, or the society that governs us, is taking black men basically by the scrotum and snatching them down the best way that is possible. However, as a woman, there's a different struggle that we have as black women, and I don't believe that any black man can speak for my struggle, being raped before, being ostracized before, being pitted against black men, white women, black white men, and I think that the black struggle is in and of itself. But as a black woman, me speaking for the things that I go through, I don't think you can really do that.
Nor do I want to. I think you should speak it, but you speak for those black women's issues under the larger umbrella of black people's issues. So black elders can speak to their issues, black teens can speak to the issues, black women can speak to the issues. The issue with the black feminists is, first of all, you're using a white woman's paradigm for your struggle. That's number 1. Okay? But then the second issue is you're linking up with white women who have never historically been an ally to black females. When you go back to the slave plantation, guess who the black woman's number 1 enemy was? The white wife of the slave master. Because she
was after her.
Yes. It was the white woman that made him sell your babies away. It was the white woman that made him whip you until you died to show you he didn't have any affection for you. The white woman doesn't care about the black woman, but she will use, as my brother just said, imagination and emotion to make you think she gives a damn. And black people have only benefited white struggles in one way, providing with the numbers that they need to gain the momentum necessary to carry their agenda. We're being used by the LGBTQ. That is a white racist movement. We're being used by feminists. That is a white racist movement. We're being used by the multiculturalists. That is a white racist movement. So I'm not saying the black woman doesn't speak for herself. You should, but do it as black women and not as colorblind females.
What are your thoughts on what's going on as it relates to Hollywood? And I want to...
I'll give you one right now. R. Kelly.
I didn't know if he wanted to talk about it.
No.
I know
Go for it.
Listen, as someone who works in the schools, as a school psychologist, my doctorate is clinical psychology. I got into this field to help children. For me, there's no statute of limitations on child molestation or pedophilia. You understand? I don't care if you did it last week or 50 years ago, you should be held accountable for it. I want to say that out front.
Yes.
However, going back to the 3 new faces of racism, feminism, LGBTQism, and multiculturalism, okay, arts and entertainment, or whatever channel put this on, they don't give a damn about black kids, black women, black men, black people. This was done for 3 reasons. Because first of all, most of the crimes he committed are old. They happened. So why wasn't this done back then?
Right.
All of you in the video, why didn't y'all expose R. Kelly back then? You know why y'all didn't expose him? Because y'all thought y'all was going to get something out of this. The sickness of the R. Kelly show is the fact that everyone on the show was an accomplice to the crime. So my question to them would be, when they lock him up, because you love kids all of a sudden, but you didn't at that time, are you acceptable being named as an accomplice and being sentenced to prison time yourself? Every parent, every woman, all of you are guilty. And my issue with the black feminists is they want to separate R. Kelly away from the system in which he existed. This was not a one-man operation. This was a system of people that preyed on children or allowed them to be preyed on and did nothing as long as they were getting what they expected out of the situation. That's not justice. The only reason why you expose them now is because you didn't get what you wanted. If you would have became a big pop star, we wouldn't even be hearing about the kids who allegedly were molested. And the only reason why I'm saying allegedly, because everybody got a right to tell their story. And until I see both sides and see the evidence and see everything else, I can't say who's guilty, who's not. But the way this is being done, this is nothing more than a test run by white power to see if we can get the black community on our side. Either way the black community goes, we will benefit. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Let's say the black community says R. Kelly needs to go to jail. He's a pedophile and we do not accept pedophilia. The white power structure says good. Black people are willing to let us destroy their own. So then, any black man we want to take down in America who is not guilty of R. Kelly's crimes, we'll just paint them as pedophiles because it's been so sensationalized in the media, and we could take out 24 more prominent black men who are not guilty because we got the black community to align themselves with the same criminal and justice system that's been destroying their community for hundreds of years. Now, let's say we go the other route and say, let's protect R. Kelly. Okay, because he's a hero, he's a successful black man, and we ain't gonna let the white man get him. Then the white community says, great, we still got it. Because since they want to protect the pedophile, when the American Psychiatric Association normalizes pedophilia in the next 10 years, the black community can't say nothing because y'all said y'all want R. Kelly to be exempt. So if R. Kelly can be exempt as an alleged pedophile, so can all other pedophiles. Because there's a movement in this country by rich white males who want to normalize sex with children. So if the black community protects, allegedly, someone who committed pedophilia acts, then they automatically are supporting the movement for the normalization of pedophilia. So the question becomes, if we lose either way we go, how do we win? And you win by bringing justice to your own community, not going to white folks and asking the same people who committed more injustice against you than anybody in history to administer justice. You don't go to the rapist and say, can you try him for rape? You don't go to the thief and say, can you try him for stealing? You don't go to the abuser and say, can you try him for abusing? The white man is in no moral position to judge any black person for their crimes. We should be judging them ourselves.
Man, I'm scared to ask you about the other. Well, they brought up charges against the other guy. What's his name? Which one? Kevin Spacey.
Oh, but did you hear what Kevin Spacey said?
What did he say?
And mind you, Kevin Spacey didn't get an R. Kelly show.
No, he didn't. He's been quiet.
No, and he's not going to, because did you hear what he said? Kevin Spacey said on TV, if I go down, I'm taking the whole Hollywood pedophile ring with me.
Wow. Wow.
And he won't get a show.
He said it on national TV.
It's that one. Oh my God.
Oh, but they don't want the whole ring to go down because when they start pulling these pedophile strings, I'm telling you, most CEOs of the music houses, most CEOs of the studios, do you realize, I read an article that said over 75% of all child actors since 1970 were molested in Hollywood. There's documentaries on them. Pedophilia is a Hollywood institution. So Kevin Spacey came out like a gangster and said, if y'all want to play that, I'm going to pull all the strings. And guess who else going to fall out some of them strings? Some of your most recent U.S. presidents.
But is that surprising, though? I mean, it's corrupt.
See, here's my thing. If we're going to go after this, go after it systematically and institutionally. I'm not going to make you the fall guy for drug dealing. I'm not going to make him the fall guy for breaking in cars. I'm not going to make R. Kelly the fall guy for pedophilia. This is a system that has been maintained and protected and bred in American culture for hundreds of years. Do you know that every major white male father of psychology, okay, most of them did not oppose sex with kids? Nor did they oppose same sex. Yes, read Sigmund Freud. Read Alfred Adler. Read it. So this is nothing foreign to their culture. I'm not saying all white folks support it because they don't. There's a lot of white groups who are against the LBGT and they're against the pedophilia movement. But what I'm saying is the origin of this abomination, okay, has its roots in Greco-Roman culture. You can't find me no African civilization in the history of the world where being married to somebody of the same sex was acceptable or where having sex with a baby was acceptable. The punishment was death. And still is in most African countries. That's why they sent Barack Obama over to Liberia, and they sent Barack Obama over to Tanzania, and Barack Obama threatened the presidents of sovereign African nations that if you don't legalize homosexuality, we will stop your funding. Why does the president of the United States care about whether or not gay people can get married in Africa? For two reasons. Number one is population control. Who's the number one supporter of gay marriage in America? Planned Parenthood. Is that a coincidence? The same organization that birthed the birth control movement, the abortion clinics, is the #1 supporter of gay marriage. Why? Because 2 gay women can't reproduce, 2 gay men can't reproduce. And why do they want it in the public schools? Why did Barack Obama approve this in the schools? It's because if I can get to the kids at 5, if I can get to them at 10, if I can get to them at 15, I can homosexualize everybody through conditioning, because as we taught in psychology, as a man is taught, so is his thoughts. They engineering this at the highest level and at the lowest level. So the question becomes, when are black people going to stand up and say, this is not who we are? See, homosexuals is telling us, this is who we are. The European Jews, this is who we are. And the feminists, this is who we are. When do we stand up and tell the world, this is who the hell we are? When we going to stand? We need a backbone.
Well, you have so many.
Fire.
You have so many people, though, that is not going to say just that. And then my question is, how do we collectively work together? That's not realistic right now.
What is it?
So black people, who are black people? Black people are straight people that believe in what? What are black people? Black people are who? That believe in what? So you're gonna take the black LGBT community and move them over to the side. How we're still gonna be segregated. We're still gonna be marginalized.
No. I'm going to. I agree, but I want to qualify.
When you say black people, who are they?
We all know who black.
No, I'm not saying how we look, because you're talking about a group of people. When we stand up and say who we are, but you're going to separate us right at the question, because everybody's not going to agree with what you're saying.
And let me be clear. You're correct. You're correct. And let me qualify. Let me clarify my position. I am not looking for a utopian black struggle. Everybody's not coming along for this march.
There is a black struggle.
But let me finish this.
Right.
Well, there is no black struggle right now. We're doing nothing but accepting the white power structure's agenda. But my point is, I'm not looking for everybody to struggle with me. A black man married to a white woman, I don't want him. A radical black feminist who think the black man is her enemy and can't see that racism is the enemy, I don't want to struggle with her. Homosexuals and multiculturalists, I don't want them, because they're useless to where I'm going. I don't believe in a utopia queen. I'm not trying to bring everybody. So when somebody says, well, you're going to lose the gays, you're going to lose the radical black feminists, you're going to lose all the black men with white wives, good, because that's not what I'm fighting for. I'm not willing to die for gay sex. I'm not dying for radical white feminism. I'm not dying for a colorblind society. I am dying for the liberation of African people. Period, point blank, end of story. I don't want everyone, because everyone can't go where I'm trying to take us.
We got a phone call. What we're going to do, we're going to go to the phone line. We got a phone call. Come in and call it. Good evening and welcome to the show. Good evening. Hello? Lost him? Okay. You know, one of my concerns was that, do you think that our brother Mumia will get a fair trial this time around?
No, I don't. But we must fight for justice. Regardless. None of us knows the outcome of none of this. None of us knows the outcome of any of this. Okay? If you watched the game last night, it looked like Kansas City had New England. Right. Brady had to go 100 yards in what, 2 minutes? Mm-hmm. People said it's over. Till old Rusty Gronkowski caught that pass on the sideline and changed the whole game. Now, the referees gave some help with some of them calls too. But nonetheless, you never know the outcome of your work. The final decision rests with the Lord. The final decision of all things rests with the Lord. And that's why we got to keep our faith. We can't quit. Because you never know. Dr. King didn't know that Civil Rights Bill would go through. He didn't know the Voting Rights Act would go through. Do you know 200 years you had black people saying we'll never get out of slavery? If you say we can end this, they would have laughed in your face. But look at us now. Not totally free, but freer than we were. Although there's really no such thing as degrees of freedom. It's an absolute. But nonetheless, you get the point that I'm making. You see, so, you know, for me, it's about coming together, to your point, Queen, because it was an excellent point. We don't come together necessarily under shared identity. You know why? Because you got Moors, you got Nawapians, you got Nation of Islam, you got God and Earth, you got Socialists, you got Pan-Africanists. But hear me.
You're cool with that.
I'm cool with that.
You're cool with 50 people.
First of all, I'm not going to have 50 people.
I'm
not going to have 50 people.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we're not alike.
But remember this, we have far more in common than we have apart. Okay? And one of the things we can't do, see, when y'all over-exaggerate the differences of black folks, you play into the disorganization agenda of the white power structure. Listen,
You're
hold on.
playing to it.
No, let me finish
You're
let me-
playing to it because
Queen.
you separating us.
Separating who? The gays? You're worried about the gays. No, I'm not separating black folks. Anybody can come, but you got to have certain criteria. Nobody joins.
Those are your
Exactly. And that's why I have my organization.
Okay.
And in Team Pan-African, it's going to be my way.
Okay,
No, it's going to be millions.
Let's go back to the phone line. Let's get
But
that call.
I didn't make my point. I got to make this point. White folks. You got Italians. You got Anglo-Saxons. You got the French. You got the Austrian. You got the Norwegian, the Greeks, the Romans. Guess what? They don't all get along at all. I work with white folks. The Italians think they better than the Irish think they better than the Italians. The Jews think they better than everybody. They fight like cats and dogs. But when it comes to the collective agenda of white folks, there is a time out called and they get it together. I was in China. Guess what? Indochina think they better than China. China think they better than the Japanese. The Japanese think they better than the Vietnamese. But when it comes to the best interests of the Asian people, they come together. You see the same thing with the Arabs. They know that they got differences, but they never let the differences keep them from fighting for the collective best interest of the race. We're the only people who want to make a million excuses as to why we can't do anything. We're so different. Nah, I don't.
Wait. Time out. Let's go to the phone line. We don't want to lose this call.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the show. You're on the line with Dr. Umar Johnson. Hello. Good. How you doing? Okay.
Peace and love, black man. Say that again, Queen. What'd you say?
Wait.
No, Queen, what did you say, Queen?
The caller had a call asking if you're born gay.
No, I got the question, but what was the comment? Speak, Queen.
I speak.
What did you say? What did you say?
I said, how you gonna ask a man who's not gay if a person is born gay?
Okay, first I'm gonna deal with that logic. That's like saying that's like saying you gotta be a drug. You must have been a drug addict to treat people on drugs. You must have committed crime in order to reform criminals.
Do you believe that?
Of course not. But guess what? It's not a belief. Can I ask you a question? Did you read the 1974 American Psychiatric Association position paper on the normalization of homosexuality? I recommend you read it because in the paper they were crystal clear that there's no evidence that shows people. And now let me take you up to 2005. The American Psychiatric Association put out a position statement and they reaffirmed what was said in 74, that at present we don't have no proof that people are born gay. Now, speaking to me as a 20-year school psychologist and doctor of clinical psychology, 85% of all black males I've met in my life who have been homosexual, whether I knew them, whether I treated them in therapy, were sexually abused before the age of 14. I know how this comes into our community. And most of it comes through childhood molestation. And that's another reason why I take a big issue with the feminist movement and the LGBT movement, because I don't see either one of those movements doing anything about pedophilia of children.
So how do you stop someone from doing that?
Oh, wait. Time out. Let's not go into how we stop.
That's going to be a long conversation. No. We ain't going to go into that. No. Because we don't. No. We don't.
We want to talk about some community.
Exactly. Because we don't want an agenda item from the white power structure to dictate this conversation. But I do want to say this to you. You prevent black children from becoming gay and lesbian the same way you prevent them from becoming pedophiles. Because pedophiles begin as children. They do not begin as adults. They begin as 7, 8, and 9. You know how you do that? By providing them with a loving, nurturing family house. The number one risk factor, I want everybody to hear me, the number one